Hey, this is OT with www.deepfreedomnow.com, and I'm going to talk with you about a concept called the Human Continuum. And this is a term that was coined by an author, Gene Liedloff, Liedloff, who wrote a brilliant book called The Continuum, Continuum concept, which talks about her experiences with the Yaquana people in the Amazon of Venezuela and how profoundly that impacted her understanding of our potential as human beings. And the idea behind the human continuum is that our emergence as human beings has evolved over millions of years. Whether the human species is that old or not is immaterial, but we're participating in a whole evolution of consciousness as mammals, and then primates, and then human beings. And as a result, we're designed in a certain way to adapt to our environment. And what neonatologists have become aware of is that the expression of our potential as human beings is profoundly impacted by our mother's experiences when we're in the womb, very critically by our birth experience and what happens in those first few hours of life, and then profound impact as we advance into learning and how to as we become socialized to our families and the culture at large. What the human continuum indicates is that there are certain inbuilt expectations that we're designed with. It's just part of the intelligence of our human design. And so when we're born as human beings and as mammals, there's the expectation, as with all mammals, that we'll emerge from our mother's bodies and go right onto our mother's breasts and nurse. And in the human experience, generally that's at the left breast, so that the child has connection with her mother's heartbeat as they did in the womb, because in the womb the presence of the heartbeat is continual. And so a lot of people don't appreciate the fact that birth, human birth, is also a form of death. I mean, when we're in the womb, we live in a water world, and all of a sudden that world has disappeared as our mother's waters break, and we're pushed through the vaginal canal and have an increase in stress hormones. And then as we emerge and rediscover our mother, instead of being inside of her, now we're outside of her. But as we reconnect with the comfort of her presence, then the stress hormones go down. In medical, technological childbirth, that process has been severely disrupted. And we're generally received into latex gloves. Newborns are covered with what's called vernix, which is kind of it's a thick, almost cheese-like coating on the skin that protects them from the water. And a lot of times in medical childbirth, that's rubbed right off with some dry towels. The umbilical cord is cut while it's still pulsating, which puts the child into oxygen deprivation. The child is often spanked as they go into oxygen deprivation and start choking for breath. And a lot of male children, 95% of males in the United States, for example, get circumcised. Children have drops put in their eyes, they're put on scales, they're wrapped in dry cloths, and they may spend hours after birth before ever reconnecting with their mother's heartbeat, and having an experience which amounts to assault. I mean, in the human continuum, in this hundreds of thousands and millions of years of being human, that sort of experience in ancient cultures or indigenous cultures would only occur if you gave birth during a war and someone some enemy grabbed you as a child or assaulted you or something. So what happens as a result is that the child's stress hormones stay very elevated, and this isn't the first time that that this has happened in human experience. I mean, there have been wars, there have been disruptions, earthquakes, whatever. And so as human beings, we are designed that if the birth process is severely disrupted, we develop a different sort of neurology that will allow us to increase our chances of surviving a very disrupted environment. And so the focus of brain development goes more towards fight or flight. We have full intellectual capacities, but we end up getting imprinted with this mode of stress and something's wrong. What I noticed in my time with Cheyenne friends is I noticed how different my neurological tuning, so to speak, was than theirs. So I'm going to leave you with that thought, and I thank you for listening in. You can join me at www.deepfreedomnow.com. Thank you.